the years, there's a couple things that I have learned when it comes to buying property. Number one is this. When you buy property, you can't believe how expensive it is because it is costly. But when you look back in 20 years, you can't believe how little you actually paid for it. My father, for example, he passed away a little over 10 years ago. And up here where we live, north of Pittsburgh, I remember him telling me when they first moved out here from Pittsburgh, property around here was selling for about $100 an acre. Now, that was a long time ago. Today, if you could find it for just raw land, undeveloped, you're probably looking at $15,000 to $20,000 per acre in the same area. So back in the late 40s, yeah, about $100 an acre compared to about $20,000 per acre today. Huge difference. Also, I've never heard anyone say, now I'm sure there's exceptions to everything, but personally speaking, I've never heard anyone say, boy, am I glad I sold that property when I had the chance. I think land is a good thing to hold on to. Like I said, it seems to increase in value over time, and let's just face it, they don't make it anymore. So what makes land so expensive? Well, you know, one of the reasons, and we all know about this, is inflation. It's affecting everybody. The price of everything just keeps going up and up. And the other thing is supply and demand. There's only so much land out there, and like I say, they don't make it anymore. Now, speaking of supply and demand, I took a few notes here because I've got a bunch of numbers to remember. The United States consists of about 2.3 billion acres of property. That's a big chunk of ground right there. 2.3 billion acres. Now, out of that 2.3 billion acres, about 700, now these numbers are all approximate. I looked them up from different sources. They all vary just a little bit, but approximately 786 million acres is owned by state and federal government, heavy on the federal side. 786 million acres owned by state and federal. Now, what's interesting about that, here's a little fun fact for you. If the federal and state government were to sell all the land that they have, every bit of it, 786 million acres, for let's say $5,000 an acre, which I think is a pretty good price. I'm sure there's some places, like in the national parks, it would sell for much, much more than that, but other places probably a lot less. So 786 million times 5,000 an acre equals about $3.9 trillion. Now, to put that into perspective, that's a huge number, but in 2022, the federal government spent about $6.2 trillion. So think of that. If they sold all the land owned by the federal government and state government for $5,000 an acre, that would run the country for about 7.5 months. That's incredible if you look at it that way. So basically, 34% of the land in the U.S. is owned by federal and state. Everything else is private. So if you look past inflation and supply and demand, what else drives up the price of land? Well, it could be many different things depending on where you live. Around here, western Pennsylvania, one of the things that drove the price of property up quite a bit was the Marcellus Shale. And that's when they discovered that a shale seam down in the earth about 7,000 feet below the surface where we are located had trapped natural gas in it. And they came up with new ways to extract that gas, so there was a value there which drove up the price of the land. Back then we had landmen, driving around neighborhoods trying to get people to lease their property to the gas company, which we did. And what we did, though, a little bit differently, we did a non-surface lease only, which meant they couldn't build a well pad on our property, couldn't put any gas lines in. Basically, they could not come on the surface of our property, but there is a lateral about 7,000 feet below us that extracts gas. Anyway, all that drove up the price of land. But what happened was people soon realized that you could sever your mineral rights away from surface rights. So if people were selling their property, they could keep their mineral rights and only sell the surface, which kind of lowered the price of land just a little bit. So it had an effect on it, but I don't think it was a real long-term effect or significant. once people were able to start severing their mineral rights from the surface rights. So that's one thing. Now, I think there's something big that's coming up nationwide that's similar, I guess you could say, to, you know, leasing your property for minerals, but it's quite different because you're kind of leasing the surface, and that is carbon credits. I've been doing some reading on this, and there's all these carbon capture programs that seem to be gaining momentum. So basically, now this is all my opinion, and if you have a better understanding of it, feel free to send me an email, leave me a comment with your explanation of it. But the way these carbon capture programs work is this. You have companies out there that are just kind of popping up, and what they do, they will pay a landowner a couple $100 a month per acre if you don't cut any trees down on your property. And there's some other requirements and stipulations as well, but that's basically it. And what they want to do is to be able to guarantee that this section of land, they'll keep their trees, and you get a little bit of money for doing it. So sounds great, right? Well, not so fast. Here's my problem with it. The reason that they're doing this is they then sell the carbon credits to companies that want to remain or want to try to achieve carbon neutrality. Now, if you Google, you know, companies that are carbon neutral, there are all these companies out there, and they want to strive to become carbon neutral, some by 2030, some by 2040. And a lot of them, it's impossible to do unless they go completely out of business. So what they do is they buy carbon credits, keep doing what they're doing, keep putting emissions into the air, but since they buy carbon offset credits, they can put on their website that they're carbon neutral. So in my opinion, it makes no difference on anything. It's just an exchange of money. The problem is this, in my opinion, you know, say you have a big oil company, and I'm not against big oil. I worked oil and gas for years. But you have a big oil company, and they want to say, hey, we are going to be carbon neutral by 2030. And they start buying carbon credits from some carbon capture company, and they're paying the landowner some money, and they're buying all these credits, and on paper, they're carbon neutral. It all looks good. Problem is, they're giving this company money to buy the carbon credits, and all they're doing is driving up the price of their goods and services from people like you and I. So there's really no big reduction in emissions. It's just, it'll look good on a website, and it'll look good on ESG scores and things like that. So I think that's where we're headed. And I read somewhere the other day, this one company, and I'll put some screenshots from some of these companies, you know, overlay them on the video. But I think they're paying $300 an acre, which isn't bad. I mean, that would cover your property taxes for sure in most places. But they expect or hope by 2030 it will get up to $1,000 per acre. Now, that's a chunk of change right there. $1,000 per acre if you don't cut any of your trees. Obviously, I wouldn't be signing up for it around here. Matter of fact, this afternoon I'm going back to my little clearing project. But if it gets to $1,000 an acre, that's going to change everything. Even $500 an acre. Down there in West Virginia, where we bought property, it's pretty reasonable. We paid about $4,000 an acre for 40 beautiful flat acres filled with white pine, red pine, and about a third of it's hardwoods. Beautiful piece of property, $4,000 an acre. I was thrilled. I think some people in the area probably thought it was kind of steep. I couldn't be happier. But if you could get $1,000 per acre by not cutting any trees and not doing anything for one of these carbon capture companies, what's going to happen to the market? You're going to have these big corporations buying up all this land just to sell the carbon credits, which is going to squeeze everyday people like you and me out of the picture. I mean, if you got $1,000 an acre, you're getting a complete return on your investment, like on that West Virginia property, in 4 years. So that's a no-brainer for big companies with a lot of money. You'll probably even find companies that will start another company. They buy the land and they buy the credits off themselves, all so they can show on their website that they're carbon neutral. Personally, I'm not a big fan of any of this, and like I said, it's just going to drive up the price of property even more. It's a big difference between like oil and gas leases in leasing the surface of your property. I mean, if you lease the surface, what else do you have? There's nothing else, you know. I'm sure you could still use it for some activities, but there's going to be a lot of things that you can't do, and I don't really see where it makes a difference. It's just a way that you have these companies are able to convince a certain group of people this needs to be done. They exchange a bunch of money, and it costs us in the end because the price of goods and services go up, and we get squeezed out if you want to buy any property. So it's my opinion on everything, and like I said, please, if you know more about it, happy to listen, but that's it in a nutshell. I think carbon credits and carbon capture programs are going to drive up the price of land and make it even less affordable to normal people than it is now. So anyway, that's about it for today's video. Appreciate y'all being here, and I will catch you on the next one.